What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another HR Heretics segment. Today, we are going to talk about candidate feedback and the candidate experience. All right, Kelly, here's the scene. So Samantha Price, who's a talent partner at Audacious Ventures, a couple weeks ago, went on LinkedIn and dropped this screenshot of feedback that her friend had gotten, or a lack of feedback that her friend had gotten from the interview process. And this is what it said. She said, this morning, a friend shared a rejection email he received from a company he was really excited about joining. He got zero feedback as to why, even after investing hours meeting with the team, completing a take-home assignment, and delivering a presentation, that he didn't get the job. And so, Kelly, what is your take on candidate feedback, and should companies be delivering feedback to companies that can help candidates get better?
Yeah, I mean, this was a topic, honestly, Nolan, 24 years ago when I was at Intuit. Like this has always been a topic, and I'm glad we're talking about it because there's two parts, in my opinion, we can dig into. One is the ability and the bandwidth to give every candidate feedback. Second is the ability and the skill set and the trust and judgment we have in recruiters to give that feedback.
Yeah.
Right? Those are kind of the two main axes for me. On the first one, not an excuse, but let's talk about the reality of the market and the situation right now, right? So all these teams are lean. There's been layoff after layoff for years. I'm like I said, I'm in an interim role at Quizlet right now. Like these recruiters are overloaded. Like the teams are small. They're really tired. So again, let me just, the first thing is it realistic to put on their plates, not only to find all these roles, the very small team to follow up with every candidate? Let's talk about that.
Okay. So I have a framework for this, and I'll actually go back all the way to my time at Google. Okay. So I'm at Google, and I got promoted to recruiter, and a candidate asked for feedback, and I shared it with my boss. And my boss goes, it is company policy that we do not share feedback with candidates. And I said, why is that? And he goes, well, it's just an issue of liability. And so if we say something that is misconstrued and the candidate takes it the wrong way, even if we are really well-intended, we can get sued, and it's just not worth it for us to take on that risk. And so, I was a young recruiter early in my career. And so I just accepted it. I'm like, well, this is just how the world works. So then I get to DoorDash, and same thing happens, except the candidate emails me and this dude, Andrew Ladd. And Andrew was one of our product managers. And so Ladd and I, he grabs me in the hallway after lunch, and he's like, so what feedback are we going to share with this candidate? And I was like, well, we're not going to share any feedback, Ladd, because obviously it's an issue of liability, right? It was the same answer I got from my boss at Google. And he goes, well, that sounds like bullshit. What liability are we? We're 50 people, dude. Are we really worried somebody's going to sue us? And then he goes, and oh, by the way, how would you like to be treated? Right? Because this person just spent, call it 15 hours with us. We're not moving forward. There's another person who's better for very specific reasons. Wouldn't you want to know? And I was like, shit. And then I think really what happened is, underneath the surface, I was a one-person show with 100 recs open, thinking exactly about the thing that you just said, which was God damn it, there's another thing on my plate. So I think there's a couple pieces for me. One is, if somebody comes on site, right, and they've gone through the recruiter screen, the hiring screen, potentially a take home, and then an on-site, I think they deserve feedback. And it should only be done over a phone call, right, to reduce the liability and to make sure that no wires get crossed on text. Also, it's faster to deliver feedback that way. But I actually have an addendum that I've been thinking about with this, which is the best way to reduce your liability and to set candidate expectations is to have a contract with the candidate at the beginning of the process. And so as part of candidate applies or recruiter reaches out, as soon as they get into your flow, they should very easily understand what they are going to get and when it's going to happen and all this. They just remove the ambiguity and set the SLA with the candidate, which nobody does. And so I think you basically tell the candidate, we only deliver feedback after the on-site interview if you make it that far. You will not sue us, right? By signing your name on this thing, like you will not sue us for giving you the feedback. You do not have to get the feedback. It's only if you ask for it will we deliver it. And I think it's just like such a more human experience. So like, yes, it does take more time, but I think if you do it for people who get to the on-site interview, it's the right thing to do because of how much time they've invested with you.
Yeah, I just wrote something down as you were talking that we've said probably 100 times since we started this show. And it's clarity of identity. Yeah. And why I say that is because there probably is a right answer in terms of humans deserve X, Y, and Z. But the reality is there isn't a right answer. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like talking about politics at work. Decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Decide what you can do and you can't do. If you're a team of 2 recruiters and you're lean as hell and you're dying every day, maybe it can't make sense for you to do that. Be clear about that. Or if you are a company that's up and coming and you are really trying to get your brand out there and just be like the best at all of this, at the experience and this and that, maybe you're like, we're going to fucking do this. I don't care.
Yeah, and we're going to do it well.
And we're going to do it well. And we're going to hire an extra person so that we can actually do this extremely well, because being thoughtful about this, and even if you don't get the job, if you feel like they cared about you, they really tried to make you better, they followed up with feedback, guess what? I'm going to go out and be like, I didn't get this CPO role, but they were great. Like, great company, great process. That has impacts on the business long term. So what I'm saying is just be clear about what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and why.
Yeah. So let me just build off of that. So I think the notion that it takes more time is real, but it's not as extensive as you think. Right. So in my opinion, you can send, this was me and Ashley Davis had this role, and Ash and I were like, we're best friends. And, you know, she was like, we worked together since Google, DoorDash, Carta. And Ash and I have this rule, which is if you come on site, you get a phone call rejection email. But if you don't come on site, we reject you via email. So like we give you a phone call if you come on site, and then otherwise, like, you're just getting emails from us and letting you know what's going on. And so if I'm on the phone, right, I'm picking up the phone. I'm like, hey, Kelly, we decided to move forward with another candidate. That takes 30 seconds. The feedback portion of that takes 2 minutes, right? And it's an additional 2 minutes. So if you have 10 on-sites a week, we're talking about an additional 20 minutes. That's really like what it takes. If you follow the framework of every single time a candidate comes on site, they deserve a phone call from us because that's the human and right thing to do. So that's how Ash and I always thought about it, was like, that was like our human rule on how we, and, you know, ultimately we did get to a point where it was like, we would leave voicemails. We would not put the feedback in the voicemail. We'd say, hey, we decided not to move forward. If you want feedback, you can call me back and then we'll give it to you live.
Yeah. Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors.
I must admit, I used to believe that AI didn't actually exist in recruiting or HR. That is until my friend Heather Doche, who leads talent at Signalfire, told me to check out Metaview. I got into the product and was like, wow, AI actually does exist in recruiting, and this product is sick. Metaview is the world's #1 AI scribe built specifically for recruiting. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes everything. With perfect notes from every conversation, your people can focus on creating a human connection with candidates, and they can save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Metaview covers all your compliance needs, works with all your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at organizations like Brex, Deal, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts. Tell them that me and Kelly sent you. Or you could just go to their website and get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI-enabled in minutes.
I just want to accent the importance on doing that live. I really do. Like it's
totally.
Like any conversation. Like it's not a text, it's not a Slack, it's not a voice text, which by the way, I'm a big fan of audio text right now. For those
I get a million of those from you per week.
Oh my God, they're incredible.
They are good.
It is a live conversation. And let me just disagree with you. Here's the devil's advocate. And this is like the lawyer talk that you hate. But here's the worst case of why that doesn't happen. So I'm just saying this because if I'm listening, I could see myself being like, yay, we're going to give everyone feedback and let's go, everybody. Like the shit part about this is it's almost like it could be like having a performance management conversation. So let's say you get a candidate on the phone. They're really annoyed. They're upset. They didn't get the job, right? So a few things can happen. One, they can take you down a rabbit hole and your 2-minute conversation turns into a 2-hour conversation of them picking, pulling, disagreeing with everything you're saying. And that person isn't skilled to up level or cut the conversation off. So they get pulled down like a bag of rocks. And it's just like, there's your 2 hours. Second is the ability of these folks to give feedback and recognize when things might be hot water or danger or this. Like it is a skill. It's all, again, like I said, it's like giving performance management feedback to someone that's really difficult and tough. And so if you're going to do this, it's almost like having a SWAT team or a group of people that you feel very confident can do this in a skilled way because it can be a liability. Now, that's worst case, Nolan, but it is out there.
Look, here's the thing. It's like, I agree with you, but for me, this is part of a recruiter's job. And it's okay. Like, I'm not saying they need to be perfect, but I am saying they need to be comfortable giving candidates feedback. They need to be comfortable rejecting people over the phone. And they also need to be comfortable when a candidate doesn't handle it well, which happens all the fucking time, for them to just be like, hey, the goal of this conversation was to give you transparency into our process and our decision-making. We're not going to relitigate this. Thank you again for taking the time. We wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah.
Like they need to grow in that way. And I feel like just in general though, Kelly, like in our society, we are just moving away from hard conversations because it's just easier to not have them. And I feel like recruiters, there's always this soundbite, right, in people ops and recruiters, like, I want a seat at the table. Well, like, this is how you get it. This is how you learn to have hard conversations with people and tell them news they didn't want to hear. Like, you got to be good at that. In our profession, you got to be good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I am hearing you say, that I'll discern that too, is that not all recruiters have those skill sets. And it's almost like, to be honest, it's almost like having an HRBP type skill set in your recruiting team, which is not super common. So I think what you're saying is really valid. And we've had memes, I've had jokes my whole career. Recruiting's the happy, fun, Toontown, positive place.
Not my team.
And then the HR team is the dark side, hard feedback. These things need to be melded.
Totally.
And we got to have both skill sets on either side. It helps with mobility, right? And bench and succession planning of your teams. It helps with the lean teams we're going to have with AI and everything else. Teams are going to get more lean. Folks are going to have to do more and different types of work. And I think, my career, I haven't seen a lot of recruiters have high skill sets in those areas. And that's what we're talking about.
Totally. I do want to take a beat and talk about the other side. So for candidates, right? Like what Kelly and I just talked about, you are very unlikely to receive from any company that you interact with, and you're not likely to get any feedback. And the reason why is because what we've been talking about, in addition to the pendulum right now in tech, is very, very deeply rooted with the employer. Like the employer has the power. It is employer-driven market. And because that's true, candidates are getting ghosted. They're getting no feedback. They're getting weeks on end before they hear from anybody. They have to be the ones following up. There's all these stories of nightmare process as a candidate. So, I'm a big believer in just like lowering expectations, and then you're just going to be like happier as a person. So just like have that going in. Now, I think the best way to ask for feedback, say you get a rejection email or say you get a rejection call from like me or Ashley, and you want feedback. Here's what I would say. I would say, Nolan, thank you so much for telling me. It was an awesome, it was a pleasure meeting the team. I'd love to stay in contact for future opportunities. I would sincerely appreciate any feedback that you have because I'm trying to get better. It's like my personal goal is like I want to continue to get better as a person. And my commitment to you is I will not argue with you. I will not say anything other than thank you so much. And it's like when you open that door and then if nobody fucking responds, then it's clearly on them. Like they are the assholes. But like make it easy for the recruiter too. Yeah. Right? Like I think candidates can make this really easy for the recruiter by saying things like that.
Yeah. And just to build on that, let's just say I was interviewing for a chief people officer role and I invested a shit ton of time in this process. I was a finalist. I didn't get it. You can either say, go on your way, or you can do what you just did. And I'll take it a step further. I would literally reach out to everyone I interviewed with, every CXO, the CEO. Thank you. What does that do? It puts you on brand for other opportunities, yes, but more so it expands your network. You keep in touch with these people. They're all going to go to different companies. They all know other CXOs that need great talent or this or that. This is how this works.
Yes, and you're so right. And just building off of that point, I've said this before, and it's so rare that it happens. I'm like, you should be this person. Is the ultimate sign of maturity is you do all of those things. And then you also open up your network and say, hey, my friend Kelly actually might be a great fit for this. Here's her LinkedIn profile. Do you want me to ping her and see if she's open to a conversation with you?
Totally.
Dude, like these people will go to war for you forever, right?
Or let's just say you interviewed with the CEO and 4 other CXOs. You do that, you have coffee, you keep in touch. Those folks, I would do this. You and I do this all the time. Connect people and refer you, probably 3 each. That's 15 more referrals. And then you help them and then it starts. Sorry. People just kind of shut off, and it's like, this is the end of the road. And it's like, no, it could actually be, sounds so utopia, but it's how it works.
It is like one of my biggest lessons. Somebody said when I started working at DoorDash, like, you don't understand how small tech is. And I actually think like that was the wrong statement. It's like, you don't understand how small the world is. Like, and if you want people to associate good things with your name, just put value out there without any expectation of reciprocity. And good things happen. Cool. All right, everybody. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much.
Thanks all.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.